Gilligan's Island, Fantasy Island, Forbidden Desires. Mrs. Howell's Secret Sexy Ways.
Gilligan's Island, Fantasy Island, Forbidden Desires, Episode 2. Transformation. In Super Panavision 70 Sunrise over Misty Lagoon, narrator. Dawn breaks over paradise, where each castaway faces their own journey of self-discovery. Sweeping shot of Mary Ann tending to exotic flowers. The farm girl finds strength in nurturing the island's rare blooms, her connection to the earth deepening with each passing day. The island teaches her that true power lies in growing into one's authentic self. Tracking shot following Ginger through a torchlit cave. Our movie star discovers that real transformation comes not from playing a role, but from finally stepping out of one. In the island's embrace, she learns that genuine beauty flows from inner confidence. Panoramic view of Mrs. Howell meditating by a waterfall. Even our society woman finds liberation in abandoning pretense, as she embraces the island's natural rhythms and her own inner wisdom. 70 memory shot of all three women participating in a traditional island ceremony. Together, they learn ancient wisdom from the mysterious island woman. Lessons about strength, independence, and the power of sisterhood. Their transformations inspire the men to examine their own attitudes and assumptions. Final shot of sunset over the lagoon. I remember the mysterious Esland woman used to say, true power lies not in what others see, but in what you discover within yourself.
Well, Mr. Howell, she's got no backbone. Pure lady of leisure, gold embroidered robes. He says when she sleeps, let her sleep in late now. Cause if he knew what goes on, then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear. I've turned in my banks now. My contracts are signed and all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear. I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's spicy. It's when she's sleeping. Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping, she's a thotty. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. No backbone, pure lady of leisure, gold embroidered robes. He says when she sleeps, let her sleep in late now. Cause if he knew what goes on, then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear. I've tended my banks now. My contracts are signed and all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear. I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's spicy, story knowing now. Yes, when she's sleeping, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping, she's a thotty. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? Oh, but Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping, she's a thotty. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways.
Loving what we're doing here at Blockbuster Remakes? Don't miss the chance to be part of our epic remake community. Hit subscribe and smash that notification bell so you're the first to see our next blockbuster transformation. Drop a like if this video is blowing your mind and share it with your movie-loving friends to keep the fun going. Comment below what iconic film you'd love to see remade next. We might just make it happen.
Now let's get back to more of Mrs. Howell's fantasy. She is the hot mom every guy wants to meet.
A forbidden affair on Gilligan's Island, soft, sultry music plays in the background. The screen fades in from black to a lush, tropical setting on Gilligan's Island. The camera pans over the vibrant scenery before focusing on Mrs. Howell, elegantly dressed, lounging under a palm tree. Narrator, VO. In the heart of the Pacific, where the sun kisses the sea, a tale of passion and intrigue unfolds. Welcome to Gilligan's Island, where the unexpected is always just around the corner. Scene 1. The encounter. The camera shifts to the skipper, confidently striding along the beach, his eyes scanning the horizon. He spots Mrs. Howell and approaches her with a charming smile. Mrs. Howell, the epitome of sophistication, finds herself drawn to the rugged charm of the skipper, a man known for his adventurous spirit and undeniable charisma. The skipper sits beside Mrs. Howell, their chemistry palpable. They exchange flirtatious glances, laughter echoing in the air. It's such a hot atmosphere. A skipper. You know, Mrs. Howell, this island has a way of bringing out the wild side in all of us. Oh, Skipper, I do believe you're right. Perhaps it's time to explore a little adventure of our own. The secret meeting? The scene transitions to a secluded part of the island where the moonlight casts a romantic glow. Mrs. Howell and the skipper find themselves alone, the tension between them thickening. Narrator, VO. As the sun sets, so do their inhibitions. In the shadows of the palm trees, a secret rendezvous begins. The skipper leans closer, his voice low and inviting. Skipper, what if we let go of our roles for just one night? Just you and me, no one else around. MRS. Howell bites her lip, her eyes sparkling with mischief. MRS. Howell, I must admit, the thought is quite enticing. The camera captures the intensity of their connection as they share a passionate kiss, the world around them fading away. In that moment, the boundaries of their lives blur, and they surrender to the allure of the forbidden.
Well, Mr. Howell thinks he's got no backbone. Pure lady of leisure, golden broidered rose. He says when she sleeps, let her sleep in late night. 'Cause if he knew what goes on, then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear. I've tendered my bags now. My contracts are signed and are all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear. I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's spicy, he's snoring now. Yes, when she's sleeping, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping, she's a body. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? Ooh. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Well, man, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. And when he's sleeping, she's a thotty. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways.
Yeah. I get Mrs. Howell. I tell you, Mrs. Howell. But Mrs. Howell. But Mrs. Howell.
Blockbuster Remakes, please subscribe, comment, and like good people. This is Blockbuster Remakes, and back to Mrs. Howell's kinky secrets. How dare you, lovey dear?
As Gilligan stumbled into the clearing, his usual clumsiness filling the space with chaotic energy, the skipper and Mrs. Howell remained still, mere inches apart. His arm brushed hers, sending a shiver down her spine. The skipper smirked, his voice a low murmur meant only for her ears. "You're going to get me in trouble, lovey." And she, with that wicked glint in her eye, whispered back, "Isn't that the point?" What they didn't notice in their midday hot stress relief session was on top of the island hill Mr. Rourke and Tattoo watched, their scandalous escapade through binoculars while laughing. Mysteriously. As the unsuspecting Gilligan wandered away, the lovers exchanged a final look. The island was full of secrets, and this was one they intended to keep, for now. The jungle reclaimed its hold on them, and the cove returned to its serene state. But in the shadows of the palms, danger and desire had found a home, promising that this was only the beginning. Playfully, "Captain," she said, her voice smooth as the lagoon's surface. She removed her hat, letting the sunlight dance on her carefully styled hair. It wasn't just a greeting, it was an invitation. The skipper stepped closer, the air between them charged. He tried to speak, but words seemed pointless against the weight of her gaze. Her hand lifted, brushing an invisible speck from his shoulder. A gesture so small, yet so potent, it nearly broke him. Sensually. The tension was unbearable, the kind that gnaws at restraint and crumbles walls of propriety. And then, it happened. His hand cupped her cheek, rough against her smooth, pampered skin. She leaned into him, their lips meeting in a kiss that held years of unspoken desires. For a moment, the world seemed to vanish. The jungle quieted, and even the waves paused, as if they too were spellbound. But passion on an island like this is never without peril, with urgency. The spell broke with the distant sound of voices, familiar voices drawing closer with each second. Panic flashed between them, but it only added to the thrill. He grabbed her hand, pulling her into the cover of the dense jungle. Hidden among the fronds, they stood close, their breaths mingling as the danger heightened their connection. "Gilligan's voice," she whispered. He was calling for the skipper, blissfully unaware of the truth just out of sight. Afternoon Secrets *, a secluded cove on the island, mid-afternoon. The sunlight filters through palm fronds, and waves lap gently against the shore. Calm and inviting. Beneath the ever-watchful tropical sun, the island hummed with its usual rhythm. The waves whispered their secrets to the shore, and the jungle held its breath, knowing what was about to unfold. Mrs. Howell, the island's self-proclaimed queen of elegance, made her way to a hidden cove. Her sundress clung to her as if the wind itself conspired to reveal more than it concealed. She wasn't here by chance, and this wasn't an innocent stroll. At a small picnic setup, a table draped in a checkered cloth, adorned with tropical fruits, she stopped. Her crimson lips curled into a knowing smile. She was not alone. Lower with intrigue, From the shadows of the jungle path emerged the skipper, rugged and commanding. His shirt was unbuttoned just enough to hint at the strength beneath. He looked out of place in the delicate setting, yet somehow he belonged. He hesitated, watching her with a mix of admiration and caution. This wasn't the first time their paths had crossed like this, though each encounter seemed to push them closer to a line neither dared admit existed.
I miss the how thing, she's got no backbone. Pure lady of leisure, gold embroidered robes. He hisses when she sleeps, let her sleep in late now. Cause if he knew what goes on then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear, I've tended my best now. My contracts are signed and are all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear, I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's spicy, smell right now. Yes, when she's sleeping, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping she's authority. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Grandma missed that hot thing, she's got no backbone. Pure lady of leisure, gold embroidered robes. He says when she sleeps, let her sleep in late now. Cause if he knew what goes on then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear, I've tended my banks now. My contracts are signed and are all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear, I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's noisy, snoring now. Yes, when she's sleeping, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping she's a body. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways.
Oh my God! Bruh.
But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. But Mr. Howell thinks she's got no backbone. Pure lady of leisure, gold embroidered robes. He says when she sleeps, let her sleep in late now. Cause if he knew what goes on then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear, I've tended my banks now. My contracts are signed and are all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear, I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's spicy, going now. Yes, when she's sleeping, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when he's sleeping she's a body. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways.
A few moments later.
I miss the how thing, she's got no backbone. Pure lady of leisure, gold embroidered robes. He hears says when she sleeps, let her sleep in late now. Cause if he knew what goes on, then he would faint. He said, I'm packing it in, dear, I've tended my best now. My contracts are signed and all arranged now. So loosen your blouse and unclip your bra, dear, I'm asleep with my bank. But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. She's spicy, smell right now. Yes, when she's sleeping, Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways. Yeah, when you're sleeping, she's authority. How dare you, Mrs. Howell? How dare you, Mrs. Howell? But Mrs. Howell's got some secret sexy ways.
Enjoyed the remake? Want more cinematic twists? Hit that like button if you love the action. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a blockbuster drop. Comment below which movie you want us to remake next. Join the action and be part of the remake revolution.